to make sure the defendant is found guilty. What other choice do I have? It's a funny thing for him to lie to his partner about his reasons for breaking in shortly before ending his life. Also, that Bruce Almighty moon is a full moon, but that wouldn't happen until a week after this incident took place. At this point, it should only be first quarter. The prosecutor's office does have security detail, and did she not hear the gunshot? It's been less than an hour since the murder, and Edgeworth's the first to discover it? Really? Detective Gumshoe? What did Edgeworth think Gumshoe would be doing in his office? Remember, this is supposed to be the first time in a month since he entered his office, and it took place pretty quickly after the events of Episode 3. If we keep everything that happened in Episode 3 in mind, what the heck were Edgeworth and Gumshoe doing between the kidnapping and the current murder? What was he hoping to accomplish by shooting the frame down like that? To give Edgeworth a clue as to what the real murderer may have been after? Because I can't just accept warning shot. If you think about it carefully and use logic, it should become clear to you. Logic? I know, games tutorial and all, but surprising how Gumshoe doesn't understand logic when it's one of the signature points of detective work. I don't really like guns all that much. I mean, they're really dangerous. This guy works for the police department, by the way. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. And I won't rest until I've sinned every instance this line appears. Well, I watered the plants every day, just like you requested, sir. I just added cleaning to the list as a weekend special. For about half a day every Saturday, I come in and clean this place until it's sparkled. Does he have a life? Not as long as he keeps getting salary cuts. Use L and R to zoom in and out to get at the nitty-gritty. That's pretty confusing. In Rise from the Ashes and the entirety of Apollo Justice, you use the X and Y buttons for zooming. But here it's L and R? Pick a scheme, Capcom! This gun can be loaded with 5 bullets instead of the traditional 6. Wow, so the killer killed the Vic with just one shot after wresting the gun from him. Sounds like the guy knew how to handle a gun, huh, Mr. Edgeworth? Detective, maybe don't say that out loud. Jim! How nice of you to join us in mourning the deceased murderer from the opening cutscene. Also, since we know the guy's name is Buddy Faith, it creates a bit of confusion why he calls the man Jim. I mean, you can learn the reason through optional dialogue, but because it's optional, it'll make those unlucky souls wonder about it even more. And the key to the door was with me the entire time, okay? So the only one who could get in here was me. Wait, that means... I'm not sure what that means. Is it just me, or does it seem like Gumshoe got dumber since the original Phoenix Wright trilogy? Did I say contradiction? He must be rubbing off on me. I'm starting to sound like him. But I have my own methods, and I will conduct this investigation my way. First of all, you've been addressing contradictions for a long time in your career. Second, hard to see it being that surprising since you've just got done standing in for the defense on a case a month ago. Lastly, you talk about conducting your investigation your way, which is mostly true, but then you cross-examine the witnesses the same way Phoenix did. You are the spitting image of Phoenix Wright. Prosecutor's badge, huh? Giving me the option to examine it, is that right? Not that I really need to do any such thing. Making the culprit's motive for breaking and entering theft, I believe. Wait, does that say culprit? What's worse about this error is at the same time, Edgeworth's line has culprit spelled correctly. And by the way, before I get comments about it, I recorded all the footage for the investigations collection before it was updated to correct spelling and grammar errors, so you'll have to excuse me if any errors here have been corrected in the update. Also, why even bother an attempt at opening the safe if there's nothing in it due to the safe being for evidence in an ongoing trial? With Edgeworth out of the country, obviously he would be prosecuting a case that involves a 10-year-old videotape for whatever reason. The blood on the floor is kinda grossing me out. Detective, I don't have the time to deal with your weak stomach right now. But you know I'm no good with blood, sir. You've been a homicide detective for 7 years and you're still not used to seeing blood? Also, I call bullcrap. This is the first time I've heard you complain about blood at the scene. You absolutely should be used to it. The victim leaned against this shelf here after being shot, which suggests that he was standing when he was shot. That means... Wait, what does that mean, sir? It means you need to use your brain every once in a while instead of mine, Detective. Miles Edgeworth would be amazing at CinemaSins. If you are going to accuse Detective Gumshoe of being the culprit, I sincerely hope you have some proof to back it up. Jim's words. They're more than enough, wouldn't you say? Surely you police would realize by now that names written at the scene of the crime is not definitive evidence of anything. Also, how exactly do you think Faith would have been able to do that given the way in which he was wounded by the gunshot? Mr. Edgeworth, what are you gonna do? What I always do in court. I'm going to cross-examine him. No, that's usually the defense attorney's job. Detective Gumshoe, you stole Jim's gun from him and shot him dead. How do you know he didn't just use his own gun to kill the victim and then the victim's gun to shoot down the framed jacket? Don't mind me, I'm just spitballing ideas here until ballistics tests confirm all the details of the case. When the killer went to take the file after murdering your partner, I highly doubt they could have missed the bloody letters written on the spines. It's possible that they could have taken the file before committing the murder. Did he even think about how dumb that sounded? I mean, dude obviously couldn't have known a file would be stolen from the shelf, but a little bit of thought process during a crime scene investigation goes a long way in my way of thinking. Don't do that. Just play the game. If you are not the guilty party, Detective Gumshoe, then the only other person with access to this room is Miss Bird. Dang it, Maggie! This is your third and, as far as I'm concerned, final appearance in the Ace Attorney series, and you're still getting accused of murder! Her intent, from the messed up shelves to the wiped out safe, I'd say thievery. Portsman, being a prosecutor himself, makes the mistake of accusing Maggie of attempted theft by the wiped down secret safe, which is supposed to only be known to prosecutors. That's how you know your culprit has tutorial case disease. This is like a dream where I'm being cross-examined by the Miles Edgeworth. Not exactly a cross-examination, but go nuts, I guess. She was under my supervision back when she was still on the force, sir. One day she got caught up in a murder and things started going downhill, so she quit. In Justice for All, Maggie said she quit the police force. In Trials and Tribulations, she said she was fired from the force. And here we're saying she quit. Pick a lane, Capcom! Don't worry, my whole life has been nothing but a whirlwind of bad luck and failures. Oh geez, it's her life story again. Ms. Bird, I'm afraid there's a flaw in your story. What? No way, pal! I mean, sir. I don't think it's just Gumshoe having a crush on Maggie. I think Maggie might be having those same affections for Gumshoe.
Now then, whose print should also be on this doorknob?
Easy pickings. We know that Portsman and Faith had their prints on the knob, and no reason for Gumshoe to even think of touching it, so the only other person it should have been is Maggie. Where has the time gone? I have doubts about the investigation in the hallway having taken 54 minutes. Also, the body is still there even 3 hours after discovery. By now, the room must be highly contaminated by the decay. I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in mind, but shouldn't it be harebrained as in the tortoise and the hare, and not hair as in, well, hair? Perhaps like Sean Spencer, you've heard it both ways, but hair more accurately reflects the origin of the term. Basically to say someone has the brain of a hare. A dumb bunny, in other words. You say you checked my doorknob for prints? Well, I can readily confess I'd wipe that knob down well. Eh? I'm a little obsessive-compulsive, you see. I didn't want to touch a doorknob that you had touched, which is why I wiped the knob down as soon as I could after you opened the door. After that, it makes perfect sense that only Jim's and my own prints would be on there. Not really. When Maggie went to lock up your office earlier, evidently she had to have touched your knob, but her prints weren't there. If you really wiped down the knob after she touched the door, there shouldn't have been any prints there at all, especially not Faith. By talking about wiping down the knob, aren't you basically confessing the doorknob you wiped was Edgeworth's and not your own? Hey, Edgeworth wasn't saying any of this, so I thought I should say it for him. Mr. Edgeworth, sir, I think we're in trouble. It's just like Mr. Portsman said. The guys down in criminal affairs said they saw him at around 2 a.m. Wouldn't it make more sense for Gumshoe to have checked the alibi while you were cross-examining Portsman and not before you even began? Because evidently, checking the alibi would have to have taken quite a bit of time. We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. Not anymore. Why would the thief that stole the file hang around the prosecutor's office 3 hours after acquiring what they needed? And what of the evidence he brought? They were things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 items, a gun and a pendant. Yet another sign of tutorial case disease, relying on your opponent having poor memory of the evidence that was obtained. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail, for the section of the tape that will drive the last nail into his coffin. You make it sound like we'd be checking the contents of the tape rather than the tape itself where the real evidence is. And the results got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. It was 5:47 a.m. when we're having this discussion, which is 35 minutes after we entered to accuse Mr. Portsman. It was actually a decent estimation up until this point when Gumshoe started talking about lab test results. They really got the results that quickly? Mercurial News sounds like a pretty normal name for a newspaper business, but then we have Speedy Times. Does that mean fast news? It's a location of where the thief put the stolen files! Those words aren't even in English. Does that mean Gumshoe understands the Cadopian language? Remember the early release of the English version when this airline used to be called iFly? Yeah, me too. Nowadays, internationally, since it was the original Japanese name, we're calling it Go-You Airlines. I guess because we didn't want to pay royalties to iFly? Actually, that makes sense. Why give money to those communists?
Thank you for flying Go-You Airlines.
This is a human voice, so what's with the typewriter sound? Was that wallet just not that well tucked into Edgeworth's pocket? I can think of no other reason for it to just fall out like that. And conveniently into the grape juice, too.
I was caught up in a murder that happened in an elevator. But how long am I going to let my past haunt me?
As long as there's constant emergencies which require everyone in the building to use the stairs instead of the elevator. I am one of your flight attendants today, Rhoda Tenero. How many flight attendants do you know of actually introduce themselves by full name while announcing something? But someone was killed, right? I mean, what about the killer? Let me off! 9,000 feet in the sky? It was you, standing there, with fresh blood dripping off of the murder weapon. Surely you had to have checked the wallet and its contents while restraining Edgeworth, then maybe reevaluate what you saw? Maybe just a little bit? And don't say anything, I know, your name isn't Shirley, and it is never my intention to call you Shirley. Miss Tenero! Well, what is with all the yelling all of a sudden? You think that's bad? Wait until you get questioned by a future addition to the Right Anything agency. The MRZ on this passport is a very interesting one. I don't know if it's because it's a foreign passport, not like what I have in the US, but the way I see it is that the first line has a document type, which is P for passport, the issuing country code, and the holder's name in a standardized format. Then the second line should have the passport number and nationality, except no nationality can be seen on that second line. And by the looks of it, it doesn't have date of birth, sex, or expiration date. If all those digits are the check digits for error detection, those had to be the longest ones I've ever seen in my life. And I haven't seen many passports. If someone wants to take me through how passports work outside the US, I'm open to it. You're probably wondering, am I really sending this foreign passport for a country that doesn't exist? You bet I am. But also, this foreign passport is written in English despite not being from an English-speaking country. If I may direct your attention to the things strewn all over the floor. Ah! That's right, the floor is covered in bills and coinage. Not to mention credit cards. Furthermore, as you can see, there was no effort made by the killer to gather the money. Maybe he just didn't have time to after being discovered at the scene. I take no offense that you thought I was the killer. Oh yeah, you definitely don't look offended.
Borginian speech.
Miss Tenero, if you could please translate, I'd be much obliged. It sounds like Borginian, but I don't understand any of it. There's another attendant on this flight who... I said that he is giving the runabout! I don't require an interpreter. I speak English just well, see? And yet here you were speaking Borginian not to the flight attendant who could speak your language. Also, Borginia is apparently a northern European country, yet his clothes and theme songs say Middle Eastern, and spoken language says Egyptian hieroglyphics. Insolvent! Yes, I am pretty sure that's how you say it in English.
Well, I should hope I'm not monetarily bankrupt, but I don't think that's what you meant.
Nor did you mean I dissolve in water. When you said that Mr. Edgeworth was giving me the runabout... I have to explain? Yeah, you were the one that still wanted me arrested. This was probably the most fair thing to expect in the world. I was watching the movie and enjoying a fine glass of grape juice. You know, instead of wine, like most first-class passengers. Gotta please Daddy Takumi-sama. Can't go giving our passengers alcohol. It was 6:41 when we first saw Edgeworth restrained, meaning 45 minutes later we are checking the lounge. Those must have been the shortest 45 minutes ever.
I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny.
And I won't rest until I've sinned every instance this line appears. Mr. Hicks, if you're really dead, then please answer yes.
I see she's over the trembling now, although a new symptom seems to have appeared.
Hysteria, maybe?
Hope he won't mind if I take a look at what's inside.
And it seems that hysteria is only slightly spread to Edgeworth. Only slightly, though. Added again with such ancient-looking cell phones in 2019, and in a game released 2 years after the iPhone came out.
Borginian speech. Borginian speech.
Unforgivable! This is unforgivable! Why did the argument start in Borginian, but then the blog switched to English? Pick a language in which to argue and stick with it. According to Optional Dialogue, licensed to love, laugh, maim, and murder is a suspense, hard-boiled action, romance, horror, comedy movie. It seems like that's supposed to be listed as the genre in the Sky magazine to corroborate said dialogue, but no way could they possibly have fit all that on the page. Also, the last paragraph in the welcome section is a mess. The best I can make out is, meals will be served at the time show, but complimentary snacks and drinks and will be served. I want to say at any time or at your personal leisure or whatever separates the times complimentary snacks and drinks are served from the times meals are served. But what's with this sentence? Complimentary snacks and drinks and will be served? What the heck? Also, the major point in LeBlanc's argument is that the movie was late to start, and I can't help but find that a little strange. I've had plenty of experience flying in airplanes, and anytime in-flight entertainment was available, if I wanted to watch a movie while the aircraft is airborne, I'd just pick the movie I wanted to watch and it would start up no matter what time it was. I'm sure in-flight movies didn't always work this way, but not only is this game set in 2019, it came out in 2009. By that point, the way in-flight entertainment was provided was abso-positively not the same as it was at any earlier point in time. Mr. LeBlanc, you said this just now in your testimony. I even set my pocket watch to the destination time when I came on board. I know, I just presented the evidence to that statement.
Well, we made a short stop at a transfer point.
That's right, it was in that small Asian country, the Republic of Zhengfa.
So small, in fact, that to this day, we still haven't found it on a map. In light of this information, it means you saw Mr. Hicks 3 hours prior at 3 a.m. Did LeBlanc not find it the least bit strange that it was apparently 3 hours after the murder when Edgeworth was restrained, or had he just stopped being attentive to the time by this point? Furthermore, when asked about when she discovered the body, Tenero said,
Well, it was a little after that patch of turbulence, so I would say around 6:15.
Was there turbulence at 3 a.m., or was LeBlanc too preoccupied with the time to even think about any turbulence? What's with Cammy's outfit being unbuttoned compared to Rhoda's? Can we get an etiquette expert here to point out the obvious problem? What kind of business are you trying to attract dressed like that? Why did you go to the shop in the first place?
I went there for a work-related matter.
Work, you say?
Yes, the upkeep of the shop is also one of my responsibilities.
Why did you not say anything about that until now is what I want to know. Maybe because it wasn't important until then? An hour. Really, game? You'd have me believe an hour had passed?
Because this piggy bank was left at the crime scene.
This is the exact same logic we gathered just by finding the piggy bank near the body. No kidding, it's the exact same description. But we're not specifically talking about the piggy bank being the murder weapon anymore. We're talking about the possibility of it having been taken from the in-flight shop. This piggy bank must have fallen over from the turbulence and right through the glass. In that case, Go You Airlines should really reconsider how these piggy banks are displayed in their shops. That's a safety hazard.
You should buy one and see how you like it. You won't regret it.
Perhaps that's how things work on this flight, but in the real world, you try, then buy. In that case, why even sell suitcases during a flight? Whose genius idea was that?
Just look at all the Captain Hugo heads painted there. Cute company mascot, isn't he?
I'd only think so by seeing the piggy bank and the Hugo images in the Sky magazine, not in these particular suitcases.
I really have no idea why the bigwigs decided to go with it. It's so bleh.
I'd hate to see the other entries.
What is so unusual about this suitcase?
The game first wants me to note the fact that the suitcase that rolled didn't have stoppers in front of the wheels like the other one, but the thing I'm more concerned about is that there's grape juice residue on one of the wheels, which we only note later. But with that in mind, why is it just this one wheel that's covered in grape juice? There are 2 suitcase tracks stained near the elevator. Shouldn't at least 2 of these wheels be soaked in juice? Hope Springs Airport? Not a real airport. I guess even back when the game first came out, they didn't want to use LAX. Also, this flight time makes more sense in the Japanese version. It was from Borginia to Japan, flying for 12 hours. But to fly from Europe to Los Angeles with a layover in an Asian country, that means the plane would be flying east, taking 24 hours to arrive, and the Sky Magazine schedule was changed to reflect this new flight path in the English localization. And the arrival time still says 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. So if the in-flight clocks ran on Borginian time, 9 hours ahead of Pacific, that now makes it 14 hours after the body's discovery, because it would have been 9 p.m. on March 11th in Pacific time when Edgeworth stumbled onto the scene. What a huge wait after his investigation had been forced to stop. I never thought I'd seize a day when a disciple of the House von Karma would become a criminal. Have you no shame? Did no one ever tell Franziska that her father killed Edgy's father? Also, does Franziska really believe this? She's known Edgeworth for most of her life, and I know personal connections are to be disregarded in an investigation, but she's got to have a little bit of doubt about this, right? Detective Gumshoe! Yes, sir! Tushno! Still impatient on Gumshoe, are you? It's kinda top secret, so she can't talk about it, even with me, sir.
Knowing her, the only type of talking she likes to do with her whip. Plus, I doubt the top secret part was what stopped her from talking to you, detective.
I'm pretty sure it was. Not sure what else regarding the KG-8 incident could have prompted her to stay quiet about the whole thing. So it was 1 o'clock on the dot when we began the chapter, and in 37 minutes we come back on the plane. That felt a bit shorter. I am the prodigy prosecutor, Franziska von Karma, and I have a few questions for you.
Ah, don't you dare, Captain. Getting friendly with another woman?
What the heck is Cammy worried about? The captain is just going to answer questions. I really don't see the need for her to be like that.
Now see here! Ah, sorry! I'm sorry!
Paranoid Dumbshoe. Mr. LeBlanc, can you please take a look at this for me?
Oh, it's a Burgundian cloth!
And he doesn't sound at any point at all concerned about the fact that it stained with blood? Not even a little bit? This mark here, wouldn't you say that it looks suspiciously like tracks from 2 wheels? And yet, only 1 wheel in the suitcase was stained. The killer took the bag out from the display case before the turbulence by opening the lock on the display case door. And it was at that time that the glass pane in the door was broken. I think that's a perfectly reasonable line of reasoning, wouldn't you? No! You don't even explain how the glass broke and the shards landed outside the case! So I've been clearing things up with Franziska for 43 minutes? No! Bullcrap! Well, that is... how should I put this? It's hideous, said the prosecutor, who pondered being careful about how he speaks of the suitcase's design to the one who designed it.
We weren't selling a single one, and they were just sitting there collecting dust. I felt so bad seeing them there day in and day out, so I decided to buy one for every flight I worked.
Considering that each of these suitcases cost $1,200, that can't be good for the budget of someone on a flight attendant's pay. So it's just $1,200 flat on that receipt? No tax or anything? Going on these wild goose chases, your disgrace is of uncommon name! Why does Franziska care so much about that? Edgeworth has evidently chosen to follow his own path. Is she still on that? Very clever. Pretending that your card was stolen, but in fact you're just trying to hide it from us. In which case, just check the locker yourselves. Check her person. Check everywhere on that plane for this card. I swear, sometimes it feels like time is constantly speeding up as we're investigating. Wow, so this is the cargo hold, huh?
It's so big!
It didn't even look that big on the outside. It looked like a normal airliner to me, though off the top of my head, I can only name 5 airlines I've ever flown, those being Southwest, United, JetBlue, Delta, and American. Maybe those airlines are just not luxury enough for such a gigantic cargo hold.
Holy suitcases, Mr. Edgeworth! It's like an all-you-can-use suitcase fair!
Holy references, Batman! This game's stacked with them!
Let's see here. $1,200?!
I brought up the price before, but that's way more expensive than the average suitcase. Why do they make these things so pricey? But it's highly likely that the key card was stolen from Miss Tenero.
It's highly likely? Is that possibility the best you can come up with? And you call yourself a disciple of my father?
Not anymore, you grudge holder.
You have left me no choice but to use strong force! Ah!
You won't get past me! What just happened? Did he try to ram the guard and fall off the railing as a result? What is that guard made of? Forgive me, but I do believe I figured out what was the real cause of death. Suffocation and strangulation make no sense after what we just saw, and also after we just got done discussing the wounds. So I guess maybe the officer helped LeBlanc back up to the top of the stairs, but he's already within the vicinity of the cargo hold. Wait, he didn't want to just use the ropes to lower himself down to the floor?
Look here! Do not go about touching my possessions without my permission!
Why didn't the officer follow him down?
Hey, Mr. Edgeworth, so the 10 million cents, is that euros or dollars?
Actually, that's a good question. What is Burgundian currency anyway?
I can't read this. What does it say? It says as plain as day, the cargo was put onto the plane in Europe.
Maybe it's plain as day to you, but you're talking to a bunch of non-Burgundian speaking foreigners. Mr. LeBlanc.
What do you want? Do you not know I am a busy man? I allow you 2 seconds for your answer.
I think you allow more than 2 seconds, but that's just me.
Yeah. From 3 to 4, I was, in the flight attendant's room all by my lonesome self. Yeah. And from 5 to 6, I was, in the flight attendant's room all by my lonesome self.
All I asked was what you did from 3 to 6, yet you only answered at 2 separate 1-hour intervals with 1 missing in between. I would have been able to spot the contradiction either way, but still, if you had to omit an hour interval, actually you'd still be screwed.
But you want to know something? Miss Rhoda actually kind of lied.
I have absolutely no interest in people who can't appreciate my sense of design. Ouch, not like Edgeworth gives a crap. So we're supposed to believe we've been debating the matter with Meal for 37 minutes? I don't think so.
This has got to be the victim's cell phone. Just whose locker is this, sir?
First off, the owner's name is right on the locker itself.
Second, Tenero checked this locker earlier and found her key card was missing, but she didn't see the cell phone that was in there. And we come back to the cargo hold 16 minutes later. Bullcrap. This cell phone. Can it take pictures?
Mr. Edgeworth, I can't believe you don't know about this kind of basic stuff, sir.
I can't believe you do, considering your budget. Also, it's little wonder Edgeworth doesn't know about this. His technology is older than the iPhone. It looks like our killer isn't very familiar with electronics. This phone still rang what I called it, meaning that only the LCD screens are broken. Okay, fine. Maybe Mio didn't know before Francisca tried calling Hicks's cell phone, but now that the phone rang, it's kind of pointless to try to still say the phone's completely busted.
One cluster of boxes is written in Borginian. It says...
Borginian?
It is cloth in English.
The spoken form looks way different than what's actually written on the boxes themselves. That looks more like Middle Eastern script, something like Arabic or Hebrew, which is read from right to left instead of left to right like most languages. No. Also, take a look at this frame. Is her plushie holding his hat up?
I can't believe we wound up investigating the whole day, sir, but boy was it fun!
Speak for yourself. My day was filled with earthquakes, elevators, and false charges.
Technically, it was turbulence, not an earthquake, but sure. Plus, there's another agent on this case with me.
Oh, another agent?
He's a star among Interpol agents and has the highest successful arrest rate. Who knows? You may even run into him one day. Maybe even tomorrow.
Eject! I'm trying! Eject!
Welcome to Gatewaterland. Gatewaterland? Having a luxury hotel wasn't enough for Gatewater? They needed to have a whole theme park as well? Remember when that sign only used to have the words photo rally?
Are you a cop?
No, I'm a prosecutor. Which means he has connections to the police. That gate looks closed, don't you think? That would mean the park is closed, right? In that case, who let him in? Also, what kind of amusement park doesn't open after 10 a.m.? It's not like the ransom drop-off is taking place on a holiday. Boy, aren't there a few familiar things here. The Governor's band equipment and that sign about a battle of the magicians between Max Galactica and Troop Gramarye. Oh, and look, it even acknowledges the Governors. But hold the heck on, does that say Garmarye? Why does Edgeworth Reflection only shine off the mirrors that aren't broken? I don't care that these other mirrors are in fact broken, we should still see some kind of distorted reflection. Look, why not just stay on the call the whole time while Edgeworth is in the park? But first, if you would be so kind as to remove these ropes. I wonder, should I remove them? Do you want Edgeworth questioning if you're a kidnapper a second time? Yup, I'm a pure-blooded great thief. It's a little something I inherited from my predecessor. In that case, you wouldn't mind if I arrested you then, right? Can prosecutors even make arrests? I know that prosecutors are connected with the police, but I'm pretty sure an officer would have to carry out the arrest procedures, and Edgeworth is all by himself with this girl. And she's still trying to open the door despite it clearly being locked. If you manage to snap a shot of every member of the family, you get a really posh prize. Kay, a 17-year-old girl, uses the word posh in 2019.
Isn't this my phone?
Why would the kidnappers just leave his phone out like that? However, I humbly request that you please help me out of here post-haste.
Sorry, no can't do.
What?
We're hunting the kidnapper now, and I haven't got any hands to spare.
You have 99 men! You can't spare a couple of them? Ever heard of Divine Conquer, or does that not fit with Lang Zi's sayings? The great thief Yatagarasu spreads her mighty wings and takes to the skies! Here I go! After a fall like that, I find it hard to imagine Kay being able to stand like that for some time. Also, her scarf is blowing in the... wind? What wind? You gotta love how they have some form of basic description for the male badgers, but the pink badger just notes her unique pink bow. That's sexist? Well, I heard that the police had a hand in sponsoring this theme park, probably because the Gatewater group owes the police from all those cases they solved. So the police only sponsor this park because of all the cases they solve in that one particular area? Japanifornia is a weird place.
I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny.
And I won't rest until I've sinned every instance this line appears. Alright, I got the secret door open. And now... What kind of self-proclaimed great thief would leap into a trap door that has a ladder propped up against the wall? No way! I mean, how was I supposed to know that the ladder is removable? Did it look like it was attached to the wall to you?
How sweet. They went through the trouble of not only giving some of these guys separate uniforms, but also unique faces for each and every one. But what's up with that one guy in the brown suit and the other guy in the gray suit? I'm sorry, but these guys just stick out so much from the rest because they're the only ones of their kind among this group.
Shifu, all 99 members are here and accounted for, sir!
No, that looked more like 25. Also, Shifu is the Chinese word for master, yet Xilong Lang is from Zhangfa, which I guess is greatly verbally inspired by China. But aren't the Asian nations supposed to be hugely different from each other, at least in how people talk? I mean, yes, the Chinese and Japanese languages both use what look like symbols to Germanic language speakers, but they sound totally different. And no, I'm not trying to make a ladder versus stepladder argument by assigning this sin, nor is it my intention to base my sins on a bunch of narrow-minded cultural assumptions, though that might be inevitable.
No one is a 2 or a 3. Everyone, regardless of age or rank, is number 1. Got it?
But if you just count everyone as 1, doesn't that get confusing? Like a much more confusing version of who's on first?
You are Agent Lang, I take it? You infidel! How dare you address our Shifu so rudely?
Yeesh, I just met the guy. Is it common for people like MIB to get their panties in a knot over something as simple as this?
You solved a murder that occurred during your flight home recently, right? Ha! But you sure took a while just to arrest one little flight attendant? How pathetic!
Edgeworth's not an Interpol agent, and he knew nothing of the smuggling ring or its operations until recently. What were you expecting?
I would have solved the entire case and Agent Hicks would still be with us here today.
Agent Lang knew yesterday's victim, Agent Acme Hicks.
Well, they're both Interpol agents.
You dare to mock the court? I do. And I don't need the help of a filthy prosecutor. Sorry, but the truth doesn't need the likes of you to distort it today.
Who uses the adjective filthy to describe a prosecutor?
You have a childhood friend that didn't used to think so highly of prosecutors until like a year ago, dude.
Sorry, but I just stole your supporting role.
How can you say something so serious with that giant grin on your face, pal?
Because even someone as dumb as you should be able to tell that this is just a silly girl with an interesting concept of stealing.
Like I said, I've already stolen the position of assistant a while back. Ha! You're the only one asserting that. Well, by the time anyone notices, it's already gone. That's the Yatagarasu way.
Except you didn't demonstrate the Yatagarasu way because you yourself spoke of it, just handing out the intel like it's candy.
Ah! You've uncovered my undercover identity, sir! How would you remain under that head, sir?
Oh great, it's this guy again. But the good news is no megaphone.
Why was he so upset when we unmasked him? Does he have something to hide?
No, just the fact that he's apparently working undercover.
And I'm creating memories and dreams for the kids! That's never a waste of time, sir! I've a dream to become as big as Detective Gumshoe, sir!
As the Blue Badger?
Okay, Mr. Edgeworth, it's time to use those footprints and go badger hunting.
Instead of this happening automatically, we need to examine the footprints again.
It just stops. I can't make heads or tails of where it's headed from here.
How is that possible? Shouldn't there at least be mud on top of the wood to indicate travel from the person in costume? It didn't take long at all before the case is revealed to be a murder case. Just think for a moment. Much like with the stolen turnabout, we could have had an episode that's not about a murder. The victim is the Amano family butler, and his name is Oliver Deacon, but the name on the pendant is Khalid Deborah. That's a nice anagram there, Lou. Nice anagram. You can't let yourself fall for a playboy like him! Playboy is the last word I'd ever use to describe Miles Edgeworth. I know you like your logic and reasoning, but that sort of impractical fluff is not needed out here in the field. Does he really believe that bullcrap? These guys are doing detective work, right? Detective work is kind of built on logic and reasoning. With your current gun laws, it's not exactly easy to get your hands on a gun. Not unless you're a member of law enforcement like Officer Meekins, isn't that right? That's all you're basing your arrest on? Things may be different in Zhangfa, but this is America. We're promised the right to bear arms! To this day, the Zhangfa police still trains its recruits using his philosophies. But thousands of years ago? That makes your story about as believable as a fairy tale. Anything wears down and breaks over time. Do you really believe something as ancient as that can be applied to today's world? Chinese philosophies are still applied to our modern world in many different ways, including works of fiction, so what's your point? Officer Meekins, I would appreciate it if you didn't tell such transparent lies.
Sir! I'm lying, sir!
No, your testimony was just missing a detail. Mr. Edgeworth. Long time no see. Oh, look who's back. What a familiar face that barely gets any involvement in this duology whatsoever. I almost didn't recognize you. You've really grown in these past few years. Please don't tease me, Mr. Edgeworth. I know I still have a long way to go. But I wasn't exactly teasing you, that was a compliment. I had really wanted to welcome you back at the airport, but I had just missed you. And how exactly did you know I was here? Through the power of science, naturally. Never underestimate what science can do for you. I used these to track your footprints, and I followed them straight to you. Does that mean Emma makes it a habit to use her scientific equipment even when she doesn't exactly need to? Because that's the only way Emma would have used it specifically to find out that Edgeworth was coming back home. But then it renders her line about wanting to welcome Edgeworth back at the airport completely moot.
Badger, 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 badger.
Badger, 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 mushroom, mushroom.
Sorry, but I don't speak badger dance.
Do you speak mucky though?
Ah! I can't take being inside that stuffy head anymore!
Ah, so that's why her sash said tough love.
Auntie Pooh! Why couldn't you understand what I was trying to tell you?
Probably because he's not familiar with how you badgers parlay.
I finally get the chance to see you again, and here you are talking with two young girls. Men are all the same. It doesn't matter how old they get. They continue to shamelessly flirt with young girls. Why, just the other day, it happened with my Yan, who I finally got to notice me. He waited and got to an arranged marriage with an 18-year-old. I don't see what he sees in her at all. As they say, the persimmon takes 3 years to ripen. That girl.
May I ask how old this Yun is, or even why you're still going after a 20-something despite all the grief it's giving you? So, about this new problem. What is that giant grin on your face for? Do you want me to show you something really nice? No, thank you.
Don't be so mean. I swear it's something you're going to like.
And don't you need information right now? You could clearly tell by the way she said about this new problem that she has a solution to it. Once I'm done, I'll increase the size of the projection to its maximum size. Dark skies of evening, when no other bird dares take wing. One alone remains all-seeing. Now witness the true power of a real modern-day Robin Hood. This is what it looks like at maximum size? I thought it was just a projection! What futuristic tick is this in the year 2019?
What do you want?
Your testimony, naturally. I'd like to hear it one more time, if you please. Why not just skip straight back to the cross-examination? And don't tell me that's not possible. It happened in Turnabout Sisters. The second tier? Hey, didn't you say you saw it right in front of you earlier?
That was, I was using the phrase in the metaphorical sense.
I see our witness still has a screw loose in the metaphorical sense.
Just the one?
My eyesight isn't what it used to be, Not like when I was young. People used to call me Eagle-Eyed Wendy back then. I just found a good man from 100 paces away as I walked down the street just like that. Of course, they also noticed me in a flash and tried to make their move. But I'm not that easy. I was a careful girl with a judgmental eye, but I never let it go.
Even the game doesn't have time for this. The silhouettes is hit the stage is... You two! Sir! And there you have it. You see, big boys like me don't need silly toys, little girl. But why go through all that trouble? Whatever happened to photographs? How far will you go to accuse Officer Meekins of the crime? I don't think Lang's intending to make Officer Meekins out to be the killer, but the way he acts makes it almost seem like he is. Recall Mr. Deacon's body, specifically where the gunshot wounds were located. Actually, I didn't get that good of a look. Or perhaps he didn't remember what Edgeworth himself said. I ask that you take another good look at the tire marks over there. The 3 marks are indicative of the blue Badgermobile. Now I'm starting to have doubts about whether or not he really is intending to make Officer Meekins sound like the killer, because I highly doubt he genuinely believed those tire tracks could only have been made by the blue Badgermobile. Not to mention that those tire tracks near the garage don't lead up to the blue Badgermobile's parking spot. Surely he had to have noticed that at least. It was 1:42 when Edgeworth and Kay went to the stadium. Somewhere between then and 2:34, Lang had officers rebuilt the stage, which could not have been as quick as the game wants me to believe, no matter how capable his cronies really are. Ah, the way Lance is being chased after by women reminds me of someone else I know. I just know you're not referring to Old Bag chasing after me.
You mean to tell me that he gave you a lollipop ring?
I didn't know you could spell lollipop with a Y. Is it possible for you to let us take a look around inside? Sir, Roger, sir!
That was surprisingly hassle-free.
Are you certain? Didn't Agent Lang order you not to allow me in? Sir, that's true, sir, but Detective Gumshoe asked me personally to let you in, sir, and I couldn't refuse a request from him. But you could refuse an order from Agent Lang, who's leading the investigation now. Colin Deveray was an inmate at the Penny Dent prison. Penny Dent could be a play on penitentiary, but it also sounds like penitent, which means someone repentant of their crimes. The ironic thing is that the only crime that Deveray ought to be penitent for is stealing a gun from a guard while escaping. He was just a scapegoat in the crime for which he was convicted. A door that was locked tight, despite it being not locked at all. It can only be because of this. Oh, you mean... Yes, it was used to jam the door. Here, take a look at the door handle.
That door looks like it opens on the outside. With that being the case, when the officers broke into the room, shouldn't the entire door have been broken down from the strong force, not just the handle the sword was stuck through?
Mr. Proto Badger, the gun is of course not a functioning weapon, correct? Absolutely not, sir.
I had my suspicions about this Badger before, the way he's always saying sir, but this line just confirms it. The bellboy who used to work at a Gatewater hotel now works as a costume Proto Badger at a police-sponsored theme park. I don't know about it taking 39 minutes to investigate the hideout. Where's the costume, Detective Gumshoe?
Is this why Edgeworth got his glasses while he was chief prosecutor? He couldn't see the costume lying right there?
Lauren. Hey, it's a name that's engraved on this.
We're not even going to start questioning why the last initial on the pendant is D instead of, P? A misprint, maybe?
Lolly, I can't believe you were one of my kidnappers.
By the way, that spelling of lollipop I brought up earlier, that wasn't a unique instance. What makes it worse is that Lance's nickname for Lauren is a short version of lollipop, but this one is actually spelled correctly. What's going on?
Mr. Deveray had one daughter, and her name is Lauren Pops.
She only went by Pops instead of Deveray because 1, she wanted to have a pun name, and 2, she didn't want the name of a criminal. This one's stupid because while Lang does say both Lauren and Colin planned the kidnapping, he never said only those two, yet the game expects you to piece together, oh, he still thinks there were only 2 kidnappers in this case. That by itself is perfectly reasonable, but using the word only could make a huge difference in how the statement is perceived. So, in his damage animation, Lance's handcuffs launch up into the air, and why does he catch them in his wrists again? Does he have some kind of Stockholm syndrome towards those cuffs? Looks like it's hard being the son of a rich man, too. It must be rough when you have to resort to stealing from your old man, huh? I don't know about that, though mostly because we don't know enough about Ernest Amano to understand why Lance thought he needed to hatch a fake kidnapping plot just to repay the loan. He probably could have just asked his father for the money. You would be surprised how often people lie without even realizing it themselves, Kay.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean? What indeed? A lie is, by definition, always completely intentional.
Yes, Miss Pops claims to have seen the Bad Badger, and yet the Bad Badger had both of his hands full. These 2 pieces of information contradict each other, so one must be wrong.
But the only correct answer is neither of them are wrong.
Miss Pops, the person you saw was not Mr. Deacon at all.
Huh?
The person you actually saw was this person.
Boo! I don't even get my own profile on the court record!
This appears to be a letter from the Chief of Police. Please allow Mr. Amano complete freedom to do as he sees fit, it says.
I know the Amano group is a big conglomerate, but is it really influential enough for the police to allow this?
I'm not a cop from this land, so I'm not bound by the laws of your country.
Hey, Mr. Interpol agent, you're in this country, meaning yes, you are bound by its laws. You don't have extraterritorial rights. We're absolutely certain this is the exact same gun Colin stole from the guard while escaping from prison.
And why do you believe that the victim was set on taking Miss Pop's life?
I suppose it's because he wanted to silence her, to keep her quiet because she knows the truth behind the kidnapping. Of course she does. She and Oliver worked together with Lance in making this happen, no?
Lance Amano, I propose that you killed Mr. Deacon with a revolver in the haunted house.
That's your proposal, but I personally think it was Professor Plum in the lounge with the lead pipe.
Gatewater Land Incorporated hereby bequeaths the property known as the Haunted House to Mr. Amano for the lump sum of $1 million paid in full in cash.
Is it even possible for one man to own one single attraction in a theme park that's otherwise owned by a whole company? Imagine Elon Musk owning Harry Potter World at Universal.
Permission to search the haunted house is denied. End of discussion.
That's as good as a confession. That place is going to get searched with your permission or not. You can't hide forever.
You didn't recreate the weapon.
Well, I can't exactly recreate something I know nothing about. Didn't we have a similar issue the first time we used Little Thief?
I was hit on the right side of my head, just above my temple. There was a bit of blood, but it wasn't anything serious.
You're talking about the blood now?
Except for a bit on the left side, this prop sword is absolutely spotless. However, if the culprit had used his left hand, the blood would be on the opposite side.
Not necessarily. Mr. Deacon could very easily have hit you with a backhanded swing, though there's not much merit in doing that.
The 7 wonders of the haunted house, the disappearing badger.
Guess we'll have to go hunting to find the other 6.
I'm sorry!
No final testimony or anything, just a bunch of investigation. You've already got the culprit's breakdown, and it was not worth it.
But wait, I had nothing to do with the murder. The only person you should be arresting is Lance.
Father of the Year. This is a duo that won't last long at all.
It's no use pretending with me. You're the one, right? You're the corrupt prosecutor that's working for Mr. Amano in the smuggling ring, right?
Just because Ernest funded Edgeworth's travel overseas, shouldn't he be suspecting Portsmouth just the same after his sudden arrival? Not to mention that insane request that he should be the one taking in the Amanos.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Although there is no need to thank me. Ah! No, Lord, stop! I mean, this man's so much older than you.
Dang it, just when I thought Lauren was about to move on from the whole sorry affair, chasing after pointless dreams like that. In accordance with the defendant's accusation, a new prosecutor shall be called to replace Mr. Faraday. Why have a prosecutor substitution based only on an unsubstantiated accusation? I'm sorry, I just find that very hard to believe.
September 10th. Just think, the very next day, they'll be honoring the horrific tragedy of 11 years past. Also, is that kid wearing a shirt with the blue badger printed on it? How is that possible when not even the shape that inspired the blue badger's design existed yet? Also, cue the fangirls over 20-year-old Edgeworth.
Today's trial should have ended in just 1 minute, because the defendant was picked up by security camera, correct?
With that being the case, assuming the trial began at 10 a.m. like most other trials in the series, why did it take 5 hours and 20 minutes for us to get to this point?
Edgeworth, disgracing yourself as Faraday has will not be forgiven.
Even though it's only his first trial, Manfred's ruthlessness takes no experience into account, even on his own disciples.
The victim, Mr. Deadman, was a staff member at the embassy. The defendant in this case, Mr. Mackrell.
Now, its attorney names can oftentimes be very fascinating. Like, you got Jack Hammer, alright, Dustin Prince, fit for a police officer, I guess. Doug Swallow, don't be like Terry Falls, who fell there after swallowing. Palmaractus was an interesting way to mix up two letters in a word that already exists. And then we have Dead Man and Mackrell. Man's established nationality is Cadopian, which doesn't exist, so I can't really ask what nation would have a man of that name. Screw it, who anywhere in the world with a last name Man would name their kid Dead? And don't even get me started on Mackrell.
If only I was in charge of that case, I would have done everything in my power to prove his guilt.
Sure, just make sure no evidence is hidden from you, forcing you to fabricate something in order to win your case.
What is it, little girl?
You're scary, mister.
I feel like Manfred should be used to that comment by now.
A fistful of dimes, quarters, and pennies, but it looks like you've exactly $1.
I see 2 quarters, 3 dimes, 3 pennies, and that last coin tucked behind the quarter that's heads up. That might be a nickel, it's hard to tell, but this whole pile of coins is most definitely not $1 exactly.
How disrespectful for a child like that to be running around inside the courthouse. Does no one have respect for this country's judicial system anymore?
She could just be running errands for her prosecutor dad, though it would be nice to see said prosecutor dad with her as well.
Hey, you! No running in the hallway, pal!
You sound like my teacher!
Well, I freaked out when I heard a gunshot, and then I kind of froze.
You're a detective and a measly gunshot scared you that much?
He just said he was new, and a courthouse is not exactly a place to expect to hear a gunshot. Give the big fella a break. Also, wasn't it a gunshot that killed your dad? Can't you empathize even a little bit with this guy?
He's claiming that no one else entered the room. If that's the case, then they must have killed each other, correct?
Maybe.
Such impudence! This guy is really testing my patience!
He's just giving you the rundown, dude.
Do not take me for some naive novice.
Where did her nose go?
Thanks for the great laugh, but try not to make me laugh so much, okay?
I don't want to make you laugh. Like, at all.
The person I was going against in court until only a little while ago was just murdered. It's not like I could go back into the courtroom pretending as though nothing happened.
Not to mention you don't have a client to represent anymore, but you're not gonna bring that up, are you?
I would have proved his guilt in 3 minutes.
Manfred in his 3 minutes.
Back on topic. I'm placing Edgeworth in charge of the investigation here.
Papa!
How could you place him in charge?
Probably because he's older and has more experience in the field, at the very least compared to you. Also, does 13-year-old Francie's outfit seem a bit revealing to anyone else? At least compared to as an adult? Or is it just me?
Franziska, what are you doing here? I'm here for summer vacation. What else?
Summer vacation? It's September.
She is the daughter of Manfred von Karma and a student of his who's also a junior to me.
You're the one who's junior to me, and don't you forget it!
Sheesh, just because you're related to Manfred by blood and you can't really say the same about Edgeworth.
Well, you know, I'm close to becoming a prosecutor myself, and I have 100% confidence that I can do a better job than him.
Well, you're not exactly wrong to say this. Edgeworth, starting his career at 20, had a perfect winning streak until he was 24. Franziska, starting at 13, had a perfect record until 18. Though I guess in both cases, it's only because of mentor's influence, and in the case of Franziska, immense pressure. Also, when I asked a question in Reunion and Turnabout regarding Franziska being able to start her career at 13, Germany actually doesn't allow people to have a career like that until they're 16, so sin for that, I guess.
This will be the perfect chance for us to see which of us is truly worthy of the von Karma name.
Always having to do this the hard way, huh? Both of you are under the same mentor, can't you share the name? I don't know about that time. Remember that it was 4 o'clock exactly when the trial was meant to resume. Could it really have been 15 minutes since then when we finally check out the scene of the double homicide? I personally go for 20.
And if you were to call me prosecutor boy one more time, it will be my duty as a prosecutor to look into your monthly salary.
Well, what? And what would you do with my salary after you saw how much it was?
That's up to you now, isn't it?
Really? Sounds good, pal.
He's so naive.
I don't know about that. He hasn't called you prosecutor boy since then.
It looks like Mr. Faraday attacked Mr. Rell first, who then counterattacked. That's the only logical conclusion you can draw from a scene like this. Not yet. I feel that it's much too early to be drawing conclusions already.
Even before redemption from Von Karma, Edgeworth used logic and reasoning in making his investigations. That's not the impression you'd get from all the times you've interacted with him in the Phoenix Wright trilogy, but that's only because you only play as Edgeworth once in the Phoenix Wright trilogy, and that's after his redemption arc. In this game, you get to see for yourself that he is, as a matter of fact, a spitting image of Phoenix Wright.
I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny.
And I will rest until I've sinned every instance this line appears.
I mean, why would Mr. Faraday know how to fire a gun?
It's not exactly rocket science, even I know how to pull a trigger, although I doubt I'll ever need to use one. Even a numbnuts that rarely ever fires his weapon would know the procedure. A perfect description of Detective Dick Gumshoe. Also, if you think Edgeworth would eventually in the future need to fire a gun to solve an otherwise impossible problem, wait for Ace 37 and hope that the irony gets fulfilled. I usually get ink on my own hand when I use my feather pen.
A feather pen? I'd never seen one before. Sure you aren't just making it up, pal?
What, just because people don't use feather pens anymore? Not unless they're Hogwarts students? Detective Gumshoe, whose blood is on this bag?
Hold on, let me ask the lab guy.
Alright, please hurry.
Wait till you get a load of this, pal. It's Mr. Faraday's. Oh, and the technician said they didn't find anything else on or in the bag either.
It would appear that this bag is a very important piece of evidence.
Not really, especially considering what it was used for.
Also, nothing other than the blood on or in the bag except for the hole in it. What was with the hole not being pointed out? You'd think you'd be able to point out a contradiction with Faraday holding the gun in his right hand after learning he was left-handed, but not yet. You have other unrelated things to examine before you go back to the corpses to point out this glaring inconsistency.
Don't touch it! You'll get your fingerprints all over it. But I didn't touch it.
Oh, right. Yeah, the TV just happened to turn on. We never left the defendant lobby. Why does the game need to tell us again? Also, the TV's off now, even though I don't think anyone else touched it.
Here's the autopsy report.
Don't you mean preliminary findings? The bodies are still in the room. You obviously haven't done an autopsy yet. Mr. Faraday's bag was sitting right here in lobby number 2. It is not hard to imagine that perhaps Mr. Rell saw a chance and took it out at some point.
So, what you're saying is this. Rell took a chance when he saw the opportunity and took the knife from the bag, and then Faraday shot Rell after being stabbed?
Franziska's just putting words in Edgeworth's mouth right here. He never said Faraday was stabbed before shooting Rell. The only purpose of Franziska's summary is so Edgeworth can repeat what he already said about Faraday dying instantly. Or maybe she's hoping Edgeworth could ask for an update of the autopsy report to say Faraday died almost instantly.
Mr. Faraday's body is lying on top of Mr. Rell's. Therefore, Mr. Rell must have died before Mr. Faraday. Rell lying underneath Faraday does not prove that he died first. After being shot, Rell could have moved closer to Faraday, like within point-blank range, because remember, he was shot at from at least a yard away, and stabbed him while falling. He probably didn't die until after Faraday was already on top of him. Disregarding the gun for the moment, there's a high probability of blood splatter when a knife is used on a person. If the culprit held the knife with a plastic bag around it, they could use the bag to catch any blood splatter from when they withdrew the knife. Maybe, but for what purpose exactly if it's just that one bag?
Objection!
That's not the same objection soundbite you had before. Oh, but honestly, this one sounds a heck of a lot better. Mr. Bad, I advise you to place Detective Gumshoe under arrest.
What?
What's the meaning of this? Ha! Looks like you're not man enough to discipline your own subordinates. You were the one who told him to arrest Gumshoe. Explain your grounds, then judge Bad's character.
No!
No. A brand new detective suddenly getting his salary cut. That's reason enough for a grudge. For some people, maybe, but Gumshoe doesn't sound like some people. Edgeworth cuts his salary pretty much all the time.
Miles Edgeworth, I demand that you shut his whole woman up!
I'm trying! The victim's name is CCU. You will note that she has the same last name as you. Can you really still tell me with a straight face that you are not related to this case? Sorry, but we're not related.
What?
Just kidding. No, she wasn't. We don't know that yet. I'm charged with making sure that all the criminals of this world are found guilty. I have no need for laughter. Now excuse me while I watch this stupid children's show about a samurai warrior that battles the forces of evil with a spear. Mr. Von Karma, I swear to uphold your honorable name, or my name isn't Miles Edgeworth. Nor is it even Miles Von Karma. Remember how the Phoenix Wright trilogy had passages in time that seemed a bit too long in-game? These ones feel too short. I feel like investigation of the defendant lobby would have taken more along the lines of a whole hour, not half. Looks like you'll have to wait just a bit longer for your big debut. Unfortunately, 6 months later, even his big debut would end in total disaster with a defendant's suicide. The perfect proof. Don't make me laugh. A worthless person like you has no right to claim such a thing as perfection. Even though you're the one who raised him to strive for perfection. Oh, it's you, Edgeworth. And who are you? Wait, you were at the crime scene just now, weren't you?
You should be disbarred for not knowing who I am!
Calm down, you're just as new as Edgeworth is.
Well, why are you whipping me?
It's not like Francie's above whipping other women. Did you see how she handled Lotta Hart? Or Mimi Miney? You're not very funny or witty, are you, little Miss Von Karma? There are two different ways to write the title for a maiden in English. One is the more common Ms, and the other is Miss. But Miss does not end with a period like Ms does. Franziska, be careful about who you whip. Choose carefully or we may be sued by... There, I chose carefully just like you wanted. If he wanted to, Edgeworth could have taken all the whippings for Gumshoe, but he's not that noble, is he?
Bloody! When she's not laughing, her mouth seemingly spews nothing but insults.
And in shock, Edgeworth lets out his British side, even though I highly doubt that Edgeworth is meant to be British. If that's your headcanon, I have no issues whatsoever. I see. So a defense lawyer is actually just someone whose job is to cover for criminals.
That's why defense lawyers are so detestable, but they are no match for us Von Karmas.
I would suggest the Von Karmas probably got their lawyer-hating roots from the Kingdom of Kurain, but Kurain didn't hate lawyers until about 4 years after DL6.
Turns out, he was mad at me because on my very first day as a detective, I reported it in my usual post instead of the Criminal Affairs Department.
In other words, Bert Faraday is not exactly tolerant toward rookie mistakes, even if they are made by rookies. Actually, that sounds familiar. Why did Manfred detest him so much?
I must confirm whether or not his testimony about when the crime occurred is the truth.
But in order to do so, I must manually approach him all over again.
Yep, not even a single ant passed through that hole while I was on duty.
What about a whole hill?
Ah! You! No!
How could you not have noticed that coming? Beats me, Gumshoe even gave some kind of warning.
Oh, you're that new prosecutor Mr. Von Karma recommended, right?
My name is Miles Edgeworth, Your Honor. And I'm Manfred von Karma's daughter, Franziska von Karma. I'm set to become the successor to my genius father any day now, Your Honor.
I see, Mr. New Prosecutor recommended by Von Karma, Miles Edgeworth, and Miss Jean.
I bit my tongue.
And no wonder, did you seriously try to say all that really quickly instead of just a simple Mr. Edgeworth and Ms. Von Karma? Where were you at the time of the murder?
Do you suspect me of something?
No, nothing of the sort, Your Honor.
Very well, you may continue with your testimony.
Your Honor, it's your testimony I'm after.
Oh, I had no idea you were chasing after me or my testimony.
I'm beginning to sense that I might want to avoid being in a trial run by this judge.
I'm afraid that can't be helped.
When you get to be my age, you need to pay more frequent visits to the restroom.
I already know how that is, and I'm only 22. Thanks for reminding me.
When I was going into the restroom, that detective, Gumshoe is it? Well, he was standing in front of the vending machines buying something from it. However, and this I couldn't believe, when I was about to exit the restroom, there was not a soul in the hallway anymore.
Does anyone else feel like the judge in this game is a lot more lively than he was anywhere else in the series? Defendant's fresh milk. Is that supposed to be a reference to how one of the defendants Phoenix would later represent needs to drink milk before going on stage? Because I can't think of any reason in-universe why they refer to the milk option as defendant's fresh milk.
After giving the big lug his assignment, he never left the hallway, not once.
Oh, and how can you make such a claim?
One of the guards out in this floor's main lobby swore to me he didn't.
And yet Gumshoe is still under suspicion. That makes you the discoverer of the crime scene, height?
Yeah, I guess it does, little miss.
I'm about to become a prosecutor very soon. You will treat me with the dignity I deserve or else.
People aren't going to give you dignity if you don't give it to them. It's a pink-colored piece of trash, made of rubber.
Oh, come on! Even I can guess pop balloon!
What's the matter?
I pricked myself on one of this cactus's needles. I didn't think the needles on this thing would be so sharp. Is Gumshoe's stupidity rubbing off on Edgeworth, perchance?
Anyways, this cactus seems to be unrelated to our case.
Do you really think so? Because I believe that this cactus sitting on this windowsill is completely related.
Edgeworth would be right, but why would he think so at first glance? It's just a cactus on a windowsill.
Oh, that detective! He claims that not a single arch lit by him, and yet here is a whole hill of them!
Ah! What are you hitting me for?
As a replacement for that pathetic detective!
Can't you just save the whip for when you see Gumshoe again? So now it's 5:15? If it were 4:45 when we first got back to the third floor lobby, then started investigating the hallway, I'd bet more at approximately 5:30. Though if we consider everything else, it should probably be more along the lines of 6 o'clock now.
Silence in the courtroom! Silence, I say! Mr. New Prosecutor recommended by Manfred von Karma, Miles Edgeworth, and Ms. Genius Prosecutor Successor Manfred von Karma, Francis.
Ah! Did he really just try the same thing twice?
Why?
So we actually get to cross-examine the judge for once. Nice.
But what was that finger wag for, Mr. Edgeworth? And don't you know it's rude to shout objection while someone is giving testimony?
Something you'd never have a problem with in the future, apparently.
No!
It looked like this in the original version. You'd think in the remaster they'd have it fixed, but nope.
Your Honor, I cannot allow you to make an objection.
What?
Your Honor, I'm really sorry, but I cannot allow you to not allow me to make an objection. Egads! I've been overruled?
Get used to this, Your Honor.
Mr. New Prosecutor recommended by Manfred von...
Why can't you just say Mr. Edgeworth? Let me ask then, how did you manage to purchase a pack all by yourself? Can you provide me with a proper explanation to that?
Ah! I told you I bought it by myself, pal! There wasn't anyone else in that hallway with me, so there's no one who could have helped me buy it!
Then that just means you couldn't have bought it, but that isn't true either, is it?
Hey, you showed that to me not 2 seconds ago, pal!
Ah, I think you're under the mistaken impression that I bought this pack of rolls. When did he ever say that? Can't even have Kay walk in from off the side of the screen? Nope, just gotta have her instantly materialize into the room. Faraday. Are you perhaps Mr. Faraday's daughter?
I'm not a you, I'm Kay!
That was pretty smart, Alecky, even for a 10-year-old.
I wonder if I should feed her something.
Why does the game threaten to penalize me over this? Kay. Here, how about we use this handkerchief here to dry your little eyes?
No! Microphone! Don't blow your nose on that!
Seriously, the man offered you a handkerchief and you don't even hate him anymore. Why go straight for the cravat? I promised Daddy I'd never cry in front of strangers.
And you're a good kid, aren't you, Kay? You always keep your promises, right?
Except for just a minute ago and also a few hours ago. I'll even testify that you didn't cry, just for you. Thank you very much, lady. Ah, it's nothing. I'm only telling the truth after all. No, you're not.
It appears that there are more than just the 5 I thought there were.
We just can't read them unless we present the notebook to Kay for some reason. It's not like they're footnotes or anything, just 5 promises, then the last page which basically says, Daddy wants you to keep your promises, okay, sweetheart? Story says Edgeworth gives Kay the cravat she blew her nose on and puts on a spare, but graphics say he puts the exact same cravat back on after removing it. That's disgusting. Don't worry, I've already put in the necessary paperwork for his formal arrest. Does she even have the authority for such things? She's only a defense attorney, or so she pretends to be. If we were to assume it was 5:15 when we started questioning the judge, I think by now it should be more like 6 o'clock. But if we were to follow time overall, I'd estimate more like 6:45, and as a result, should be nowhere near as bright as shown here.
I was born for a much more expensive and refined perfume.
However, seeing as how you just happen to have a spare, I suppose I'll take it.
Miles Edgeworth, you will hold on to this bottle without fail.
Why can't she ever be honest about her once?
Because aren't we all so fancy-pantsy about our perfume?
The honest truth behind the KG8 incident.
Hardy detective turned out to have been sucking on a lollipop this whole time.
You were shot at that many times in one gunfight?
No. Only about half of these are from that case. Bad's jacket still took quite a lot of bullets. I don't think it's even possible that he never needed at least one bullet extracted from his body. I could have stolen this lollipop from you, that's how naive you are. Before you make points about someone being naive, try learning how to spell lollipop correctly. That's why I was called upon to testify in today's trial. To prove that Rel was not the real Yadagarasu. Which I would have done if he hadn't turned around and accused Faraday. After the accusation, I was asked to testify, but this time, to prove or disprove the accusation. But I guess I won't be doing that either. Considering what we learned about the Yadagarasu, I wonder what kind of tricks Bat and Faraday would have used to hide their secret identities. Every person who enters the courthouse doors is checked thoroughly for contraband, which should have meant that Franziska would have had her writing crop confiscated, especially with the way she uses it.
Then maybe Errol really was the Yadagarasu, and he was the one who killed Faraday. Isn't that one possible scenario?
Except we've already heard from Bad why it couldn't have been Rel. I swear they're not even trying to get the times right anymore. If it were 5:45 at the beginning of the chapter, by the time we got back to the crime scene after examining the evidence, it should be more like 6:30 p.m. But if we factor everything else, 7:30. So that we may find the truth, please testify for me once more. But wait until I close the present screen and select the talk option first. Remember when the TV was first turned on? The sound was pumped up at max. For the sake of no one's eardrums being ruptured, is it safe to assume that the volume was turned down before this footage was played for verification? If it were really 6 o'clock when we came back to the crime scene, it should probably be 6:30 now. But if we factor everything else, 8 o'clock. Oh, I see we even have a viewer in the gallery. I'm pretty sure a mere viewer in the gallery wouldn't be standing next to the prosecutor. They'd be, well, in the gallery. By use logic, I guess Maya has always been just a mere viewer. But see, that was 20 minutes before the real gunshot went off, right? And the problem is, there's no one else who can corroborate what he did since the snacking. Except for that guard who told Bad about it. But isn't it also possible that someone escaped through a window and into the garden? What is Edgeworth trying to gain from this? We all know the windows are barred, and if Edgeworth's trying to bluff, for what reason? I'm sure you've seen this before, haven't you, Miss Yu?
Aha! Edgeworth, I never knew you were into wearing that kind of perfume.
Ha ha ha, shut up and recognize it. But I suppose forgery of evidence is to be expected of a disciple of Von Karma. As far as I'm concerned, Manfred only made one forgery. Sure, he fixed witness testimony and hid evidence that was inconvenient for him, but as far as actually fabricating evidence, that was one time.
Did you really think you could trap me? Come now, be honest.
I never intended to do such a thing. It was all a misunderstanding on my part. No, that was totally your intention. Now to snap the trap shut and show her the key she mentioned that could turn into a knife. First the Joker, then the Riddler, now Harley Quinn. Callisto Yu, huh? That's not my real name, because my real identity is, yes, the Great Thief Yadagarasu! That's not your real name either. Yadagarasu is just a title, like how Batman's real name is Bruce Wayne. Which is why I had Rel help me set up the crime scene. And after all was said and done, I rewarded him for all his hard work with a bullet. But that doesn't make any sense. Rel seemed very willing to follow her every instruction the way he accused Faraday, and even helped fabricate the crime scene. But if you had to betray him, you could have just as easily tried to frame him for the crime. This would lead to the mystery of how Rel managed to sneak a knife past the court security team. What a plan! Also, the lobbies were already established to be soundproof. Still, if I had to kill a witness I created, I'd just use the knife again.
You two, get down!
My body! I can't move!
Not even to save your life, especially after Ban instructed you? That actually sounds right if we assume it was 6:15 when we confronted you. But realistically, it'd be about 8:45 by now.
Yeah, I can't believe I was about to get fired during my first week as a detective.
Forget being fired, you could have been subject to capital punishment.
I'm going to stick right by your side from now on, Mr. Edgeworth, sir.
I sense nothing but a most troublesome relationship from that ominous statement.
Sorta yes and sorta no, you two are great together.
I'll investigate the next case we're on real well.
I'll, be counting on you.
The scent of trouble is definitely in the air.
Maybe closer than you think.
You know, I was really worried about you after all that. Where have you been all this time?
Gummy, I didn't know you cared. After my father died, I went to go live with my mother's relatives. And why is this the first that Gumshoe hears of this?
Death?
First off, let's take a brief moment to remember that this game's finale takes place pretty much immediately after Turnabout Visitor, which is the game's tutorial case. If you remember, the investigation of that case got wrapped up by about 5:47 AM. Edgeworth can't be a night owl, considering that the cases he prosecutes usually start as early as 10 AM. With that being the case, he investigated the murder in his office for presumably a lengthy amount of time, making it a little strange that the first we see of him in this episode, at 10:17, he's not fast asleep, but sitting up on the couch drinking tea. Honestly, after dealing with 3 murders back to back to back, I feel like he would rather be asleep due to exhaustion. Hey, what's wrong with you? Where's your enthusiasm?
Where it's always been, the land of make-believe. I suppose it is quite an urgent matter. However, do you know which country's embassy we should be investigating?
Well, it's some really special country, and I'm actually really fuzzy on the details. But never mind that. Where's all your energy? Why are you so lackadaisical today?
Mainly because you can't just be rushing to go somewhere if you don't know where it is you're going. You know it's an embassy, but that's it. You don't know which one.
Everyone knows that the real Yadagarasu would never send something like a calling card.
Everyone, are you sure about that? I suppose it really is more impactful to watch a show in person than on television. Especially since you likely only get one chance to experience it for yourself, and it feels a lot more fresh that way. But that unfortunately seems to be a dying breed.
You know, ever since I first met this girl, I've always had this inkling that what she really wants to be is not a thief, but rather a ninja.
Her ideas of making a grand entrance for her heists, as evidenced in Investigations 2, don't exactly scream ninja, do they?
Anyway, we were talking about the Olapos versus Bobble Goodwill Jubilee. The two countries have had a pretty bad relationship with each other, but supposedly they've been trying really hard to make up recently. That's why they decided to hold this event.
If that's the case, then why the verses?
Good question. The competitive nature of Versus and the peaceful Goodwill Jubilee are not concepts that really go together, unless we're talking about sports, of course, but we're not. We're talking about a nation split in two fixing their relations.
It's the Steel Samurai.
Steel Samurai fanboy Miles Edgeworth is bound to make the Moon Matrix go wild one of these days. I'll just be patiently waiting.
To Edgeworth, from Steel Samurai Daddy, married man of Neo Old Tokyo.
It amazes me Edgeworth was able to read such sloppy semi-cursive. I say semi-cursive because take a look. The way half of these letters are written, most of these aren't even close to cursive. If you're not going to commit the whole way, or if you just suck at cursive, why even bother writing cursive?
I'm sorry, but I will need to search you before you may enter.
What the? Hey! The Steel Samurai just walked straight on through without one!
Because he was summoned, okay?
How short are the stage shows at the embassy? It was 5 o'clock when the Steel Samurai show started, and all within an hour, both shows already played? I mean, since it was 2 shows the same night, I could only imagine each being single act, but still. This office is considered to be a part of the Republic of Bobble, which means that anything that happens in here defaults to the control of the Bobblese government and Bobblese law, giving them exclusive extraterritorial rights.
Extraterrestrial rights? Sir, do you really believe that the truth is out there?
No, only adventure. This guy is incredibly nice, meaning there's no way he's involved in the crime, right? Right? Fanny Caution. I heard that he was an admirable person. Very admirable. He took someone's life, he was so admirable.
I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny.
And I won't rest until I've sinned every instance this line is spoken.
This thing practically screams artsy at me too. Although it's also covered in blood, just like the last thing that I said was artsy.
If you're talking about the suitcase, it was just the inside.
A ceiling fan? What does one of those do?
You act like ceiling fans are a more recent invention. They're not. They're decades older than you, detective.
Well, if I had one of those in my room, I bet I'd go dizzy from staring at it as I slept.
Detective Gumshoe, in the real world we close our eyes when we sleep. Not everyone. I've heard of people that sleep with their eyes open. Also, I don't buy Gumshoe never having had a ceiling fan before. In the present, maybe. During his childhood, heck no.
Is it just me, or does this man look just like the Steel Samurai? They could be twins.
Or the Steel Samurai's design could have just been based on King Primidex. It's a feature of these knives wherein you could freely exchange the handles on them, so that we can change how they look to fit the situation, of course. What situation could possibly require you to swap the blades? Does it even make a difference if the blades themselves all look identical? I don't think we need much thought to deduce that the butterfly motif on the knife handle suggests that it's a Bobblese knife. Proof someone in one of the countries is ringleader. I think we're turning part Russian by the end of that sentence. I only say part because there's still a the. What I mean is that the secret to this safe is that... Who's going to unironically say the safe is completely empty? What, are the papers in there just a figment of our imagination? Well, even if he is dead, we still have a responsibility to look into his misdeeds.
Do you expect me to whip a dead man? Well, I'm not interested.
No one said anything about whipping him. We're just gathering information about the smuggling ring he supposedly ran. That's all. I'd still listen to what that person had to say before I pass judgment.
Ah, are you talking about yourself in those times when you were under suspicion?
I think the pain of being falsely accused is something you really should experience. Foreshadowing. So the object Kay felt by her feet on the floor was the murder weapon. But the knife was closer to the body, and when we saw Kay turning on the light, she was near the door, away from the body. It's possible that the girl herself is the one who switched the handles.
Hold it!
Don't be ridiculous! For what purpose would she do such a thing? I don't care to know how a criminal thinks. That kind of attitude paired with Lang's makes it easy to suspect Lang of dirty dealings when really it's just Sheena who's evil. Don't get me wrong, Lang was still following a crappy philosophy, but unlike Sheena, he had tragic reasons for what he did. The points up top about the Primidex statue and 3 knives in each country are 2 concepts, so why is there 3 bullet points? You believed in me the whole time, right? Tell me you did. Not really, but... What do you mean, not really? Count off! 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Shifu, 99 callouts, so all 99 members are most likely here and accounted for, sir. Most likely? How do you expect to be sure if Lang wants them all to call out 1 during the count-off? Also, where's the individuality for these agents now? They all look exactly the same. Is it because they're all number 1? I'm really sorry, but it's not my birthday. Lang Zi says, a cub who disrespects others soon feels the disciplinary bite of an elder. All he did was state it wasn't his birthday. Sounds good to me. The fewer troublemakers, the better. I understand Kay blowing the raspberry, but Gumshoe? Isn't that even a tiny bit immature? Recently, we discovered some very well-made counterfeit bills circulating in Zhengfa. Counterfeit bills for what currency? I know the name of the currency isn't relevant to the plot, but would it kill you to tell us? I mean, I could make a guess. Since Zhengfa was largely inspired by China, would the currency be... yuan? Oh, and Mr. Edgeworth, if you happen to come across my phony, you let me know, okay? If you tell me, I'll rush on over straight away no matter where you are. You sound ready to break the law whenever necessary. Whoa! What the heck was that for? I accidentally became a suspect in a murder! It's been 2.5 years and this happens again?
I've known him since grade school, and for as long as I've known him, he has been the world's largest source of trouble with a capital T.
Hey, what kind of introduction is that? You're so mean, Edgy. Did he just respond to that? I thought that was just narration. You're the one who wrote my Still Samurai autograph? You didn't notice earlier? I even winked at you through my headpiece. Of course I wouldn't have noticed. Of the murder of a man who had snuck into this embassy. Master Mask 2. Master Mask 2? You know, like Master Mask 1, but fatter and Asian. A few months ago, this thief caused a lot of havoc on the populace. Might even have been longer than just a few months ago when he started stealing valuable treasures from display. You sure know quite a bit about the Steel Samurai. That's only because I saw the stage show earlier. That and a few other private reasons. So that's the only reason the Passion Flowers are added to the core record, so Edgeworth can remember the name. I guess the Passion of Christ must be a powerful thing if a blatant atheist like Edgeworth wants to write the name down. Tell me, Larry, is it just me or is the spirit bit bent? What? No way! It's exactly as it should be, yo! A spear should be bent? Even with how stupid Larry is, he could tell better lies than that. The samurai spear is made of metal. I somehow doubt that a move as simple as spinning it around would cause it to bend. Man, Edgy, you're so naive! What? Where did that come from? Well, you keep calling it the samurai spear, but it's not real. You can't really fight someone with it, because it's hollow on the inside. First off, Larry's got a good point. In the entertainment industry, not everything is as it looks to the audience. But second, what's wrong with calling it the samurai spear? That's what the prop is called, is it not? Third, even though the samurai spear is not real, apparently there was this one case where someone was thought to have died from getting stabbed by it. Turns out the guy was just knocked into a sharp fence post, just like someone he killed a while back. Miss Pink Princess, if you would please answer. Me! Dang it, old bag! At least with every other game you were in, it was just for one episode. Why two for this one? Stop haunting me! I thought he was trying to avoid me, you know.
That was no misjudgment on your part. That's precisely what I was trying to do.
Just give it to her straight already. I don't approve of your affections!
Don't you worry, Edgy Poo. I chase you for forever, to the ends of the earth.
Actually, maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe then she'll eventually grow tired of all the running and collapse from exhaustion. Apparently, the girl who plays the Pink Princess collapsed from a bad cold. It happened so suddenly, so they called me in to be her last-minute replacement.
Do they not have enough people on staff at that studio?
Not enough staff? Fine, but why out of all people would they call this ancient woman? I'd personally settle for penny nickels.
Because they let me stand in for her, she's going to have a terrible time when she returns. I mean, I'm not exactly great at reading the strange font they use, plus I was called in to get stated at the very last second, so I tripped over all the most important lines. I knew that Ragdoll said the shuriken, it's still samurai instead of the enemy, and the audience was in an uproar. But as an avant-garde actress, they'll forgive me because
I tell you, they're really just a bunch of simpletons. In other words, the show was a failure, and yet previous dialogue made it sound as though it were a resounding success. Wendy, I'll be descending on you from above tonight. Your loving knight. It's easy to see the M being mistaken for a W, but why are tonight and night able to be read correctly, and meanwhile Mindy is read as Wendy, despite that I looking a lot more like an I than the other I's in the same letter? Why not Windy, as in windy old bag? It appears to be a lady's undershirt. I wonder if Ambassador Alba might have an interest in cross-dressing. Spare us the image, please.
I tell you, it's always like this. It's always my fault for some reason or another. That weekly tabloid article is missing, the camera's missing, that lawyer always makes sure it's my fault they're missing. Speaking of missing, doesn't matter my husband. Can you believe when we got married he said, I guess I'm stuck marrying you? What kind of way to propose is that? What he should have done is he should have whispered in my ear, I don't deserve you, but I can't help it. Will you marry me? Honestly, men these days.
If you're bringing up the weekly tabloid article or the camera, it is your fault. Phoenix had nothing to do with either of them, except maybe exposing your crime. Edgy, are you and Miss Oldbag? No! As if it wasn't obvious by my behavior. I know it was silly of me to think this, but I figured that since they're for a kids show, their taste was probably for kids too. But they were so good that I couldn't stop. Before I went back to my room, I just had to help myself to have a dozen or so boxes. Very old age, so may as well speedrun diabetes. It's like both you and him. How is it that the two of you always manage to have some cute or hot girl by your side? Neither of which being 20 at that. Promise? What promise? The one where you said you would model for my next book, Francie's Whippity Whip Trip. He's still on that. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to search out a key to unlock your heart this time. Even when the fans don't have Edgeworth and Phoenix making out, they can still use this line to make Edgeworth an asexual, a gay man. If Santa was real, he would be the biggest unlawful trespasser in history. Edgeworth has a point. No! No, the lady's undershirt that Missile found. Ah! Why are you getting all excited over holding onto a lady's undergarment? You know Edgeworth better than that. Even Larry's testimony is Santa related. That's what I spotted the chimney. A chimney like that is a rare thing, you know. Not really. Yeah, there are houses that don't have fireplaces, therefore no chimneys, but it's not as common as Larry makes it sound. Leg Z says, until the root of the tug dries, one never knows the whole truth. You shouldn't form conclusions until everything is out in the open, which is why I'll listen. Says the wolf who tried to arrest a police officer just because he was near where a body was found and he's missing his gun. Well, I dressed up as Santa and climbed up to the chimney, but the smoke was really thick. But the flashback image doesn't show him in his Santa suit.
I'm the devoted type of woman who's wholly focused on one man and one man only. And as long as Edgy Poo is alive, I can't just drop him and be unfaithful. No, I can't. Although one year I was tempted to the tiny whitey bit by the wolfman. That was just a test of my love for my dear Edgy Poo, which I passed with flying colors. But from now on, I will stay completely true to my beloved Edgy Poo for the rest of eternity. I swear it.
And what would happen if you died first, which is highly likely considering the relative ages involved? Ergo, all we have to do is compare the handwriting in this letter to a sample of yours, and we'll know soon enough who it was that sent this letter. I'll never write another thing in my life! But what about Franzie's whippity whip trip? Also, resisting the penmanship analysis like that is, as even Larry should have surmised, akin to a confession of guilt. Isn't it a bit far-fetched to accuse someone simply on the basis of ownership? But this owner wanted to sneak onto the crime scene. No, he wanted to sneak in the room next to the crime scene. Who's to say he didn't fabricate the evidence to give him an alibi? Someone with common sense? When would Edgeworth have had time to fabricate evidence for Larry? He didn't even know he was here. The sword was made to only be used on stage, so it's not sharp. But it is pretty weighty. It's certainly heavy enough to beat someone to death with. This means you held the sword, yes? So why are you claiming it's heavy? Also, this is the contradiction the game wants you to point out. To this new statement, you'll want to present the samurai spear, but Lang was talking about the samurai sword. Just because the spear's hollow doesn't mean that the sword is too, right? And as you can clearly see, the insides of the steel samurai's weapons are hollow. I already explained the flaws in the logic, so instead of explaining it all over again, I'll just assign another sin for this. I'd like you to consider, if you will, the possibility that the sword was used in such a way that the attack killed Damask 2 without bending it. Right, and how would one do that? The real murder weapon, which not a single person has yet to touch, is this. By which you mean everybody's touched it, yeah? Leg Z says, just go already! Agent Lang, I'd like to run a luminol chemiluminescence test on the statue. Yet another long and hard to pronounce word, courtesy of Capcom.
Worst case scenario, these prints belong to Larry.
Almost as if he somehow found a way to leave his prints on something through the Steel Samurai's gloves. I don't know, dude. Investigating the Alabashan embassy, not to mention going all the way back down to ground level and making your way back to Bobble, probably took more like 2 hours rather than just 1. So apparently, if you burn the special wood crystal oil that they only make at Bobble, it bursts its green colors, sir.
Interesting. So it's a special property of the oil.
I suppose this is a ploy to force people to visit Bobble should the oil run out.
Kind of a weird ploy. Yes, oil still has to be made, but you make it sound like it was specifically made to make fire burn green, which I highly doubt. But if all of Boston Bobble were to re-establish relations, shouldn't that put an end to the squabbling over the statue? I have no reason to believe so. What? But wasn't it going to be verified which statue was the real one? I received my orders from the leaders of Bobble, and I was to negotiate with Imposter Roba at this event. I was to negotiate with him and fix the results of the evaluation tonight, to say that we could not determine which statue was the real one. You freaking politicians!
Bobble is just as strict as Alabast in their inspection of the people and things that enter their country.
That has already been proven false because even though Kay wasn't allowed into Alabast, she was freely accepted into Bobble. I thought that one day it'd be of some use in tracking her down, so I kept it safe all this time. And you're giving the perfume bottle to Edgeworth because... If Kay's supposed to stay in Bobble to investigate with Gumshoe, why did she go with Edgeworth even to the Theatrum Neutralis? All I'm doing is going from the open-air stage at Bobble to the Rose Garden in Alabast, on the same level. I'm not doubting it would take a bit of time, but 37 minutes after we first came back to Bobble for an info exchange? How long has Larry been in this pool? And wearing the Steel Samurai suit too. Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that suit pretty big? How did Larry not drown in that thing? We have not seen hide nor hair of the Iron Infant. Unsurprising since, as far as I know, he has neither. The suddenly appearing and disappearing shadow of the Yatagarasu? I believe I've figured out its true origin. How? Yes, we as the gamer see images of the Yatagarasu as seen by onlookers, but Edgeworth himself was not given a photo or anything. Even if pointing out the two statues was the correct answer, it feels a lot more like guesswork, which Edgeworth isn't known to do. It looks nothing like the Yatagarasu Shato! Indeed not. It looks more like... I'll go no further. And one woman claimed, I'm telling you I'm a genuine international journalist. Well, I did see Lada at the Theatrum Neutralis when we first arrived.
What has Kate been doing while I was investigating Holocaust? Was she just waiting for me to come back from the Rose Garden? Why not investigate with Gumshoe and Bobble and then give me an update once I come back? That would save a lot of time. Oh, well, it's just that there is something strange about the ink. Would you mind elaborating on that statement for me, please? I'm sure the game wants me to talk to Polano about the ink, but there's still things to investigate at the desk. If I want to talk to Polano before continuing my business at the desk, I'd rather it be done by my own discretion. Instead, the game just takes me out of the desk after I examine the ink. But when I saw that note, I realized it was serious. I should have pointed this out sooner, but what's with all the hold-its? Which fire-related piece of evidence burns the same color as these green flames? Oh, are you asking me? Just to give me a reason the lantern was put in the organizer? We already know about Wick Crystal Oil. She seems to be a very dedicated agent. You would do well to learn from her.
Why are you pointing at me when you say that, sir?
Why do you think, dumb shoe? Then all you'd have to do is show off your fancy schmancy logical deductions. Show off?
Does it seem like I'm being boastful when I do that?
Well, sometimes the game requires you to needlessly put two pieces of logic together in a very obvious conclusion, so maybe? I'll even pay the cleaning bill for the trench coat.
What? Oh, no, sir, I could never. This is just my old coat, sir. If it was a coat I actually cared about, then I'd get it cleaned, but, you know.
Another sign that maybe Edgeworth should be more lenient on the literally and figuratively poor detective's salary.
Ambassador Alba, I'm sorry for all the trouble tonight.
Oh, no, it is I who should apologize. It was all because I was not strong enough. If only I was able to think of a better solution.
To what exactly? Whatever regards the counterfeit operation? For someone who plays the blame himself card, that's a stretch.
You, Wolfman, the secretary lady, hold it! Objection, pal!
We all love excitement, but let's not forget our position here. Oh, it sounds like you have some sort of plan. Very well, I'll supervise you until the end.
Is she seriously going to treat me as a subordinate for the rest of the day?
Of course she is. That's how she wishes to see you, and you pretty much had to make yourself her subordinate in order to investigate.
Hey, Mr. Edgeworth, it's time to bust down with our revolving fireplace wall explanation, right?
No, not quite yet.
Huh? But why? I thought this would be the perfect time.
The revolving wall on the Bob side is known only to 4 people, and if we use this information unwisely, the truth may escape us in the end.
How would using it now be an unwise move? You're going to be countering the window argument anyway.
Well then, Mr. Prosecutor, go on. Enlighten me.
Even if I explain it, you'll try to find some flaw with what I have to say. So? All that means is that you have to counter the counter. It's practically Ace Attorney tradition. There's no breaking that up. It's really okay. I mean, I'm not under suspicion anymore. Right, Mr. Edgeworth?
Well, I never doubted you. Not for 1 second.
But when you proved Kay's innocence, you were saying something like, well, maybe I doubted you a little bit. Pick a lane, Edgeworth! What a surprise! We suspected she was the fake Yanagarasu and she turned out to be the evil woman who escaped 7 years back. Don't underestimate me. I'm not some foolish broad, you know. The word broad is said to be a dated term, but people still use it. What the heck do you mean dated? Informal, maybe.
In that case, there is one location that no one has yet to inspect.
Which means that everyone's inspected it, right? But you have no way of proving whether or not this is Bobbly's ink on the coat hem. Except for a bottle of Bobbly's ink for comparison at the lab, but actually there's a much easier way to find out. Phew! Why would you try to rush her? A trained assassin who killed your father? I think I answered my own question. Maybe? Let's try pairing up this blade with this handle. You know, the only empty knife handle we have. This whole thing with both of them stopping every few steps looks so awkward if you didn't know Lang took a shot in the leg. Sure, it's midnight. It's the dawn of another day. I would have thought it'd be midnight sooner, considering it was 11:33 p.m. when we confronted Sheena for her crimes. Also, since when is midnight ever dawn? Mr. Edgeworth, I must apologize for last night. So, the Yanagarasu who stole into my room was you, was it? And who would have thought he'd be revealing this within the next 24 hours? Sheena wasn't the only fake name she used. Callisto Yu was also another pseudonym. From the very beginning, that woman was a spy sent by the smuggling ring. Does she have to not be the victim's sister for believability? I'm pretty sure she could still have been a mole for the ring at the same time. Heck, she already faked being furious at Bad when it came to Cece's death, and Faraday failed to get the murderer convicted. Plus, I don't think it should matter that the person who killed Cece was a member of the same smuggling ring. She, and a Mono employee, was going to reveal some secrets. I think it's reasonable to assume that Callisto would view Cece as a traitor. The person who received the order was supposed to burn it immediately after reading it. But then we found one after solving the murder at the prosecutor's office. Why hadn't it been burned? This is the same video as the one Mr. Portsman was trying to conceal from me. Portsman had all this time after the murder to get rid of the video, so why didn't he do it before coming back to Edgeworth's office? Seems like a pretty close estimate given what transpired after midnight already struck, but I personally go with 12:10 a.m.
Hey, there's a VCR here, sir. Now we can see what's on that tape Detective Bad gave us.
And how convenient that people still use 80s technology in the year 2019, allowing us access to a 10-year-old videotape. The driver's seat in that car is on the right side. I guess maybe Cadopian cars are the opposite as American cars, but the car is on the left side of the pavement. In America, we drive on the right, but maybe Cadopia doesn't actually put the driver's seat on the right, in which case just flip the image for the English version and adjust the P on that side while you go. It can't be that hard either. If this were a video, maybe it would be, but it's a still image. A little edit would mean less sins. What is Lang doing near the western door? Didn't he just exit the Atrium Neutralis through the southern door? And don't tell me he just went through the Rose Garden. In order to enter the embassy, you need to go through the Atrium Neutralis. Under these circumstances, I wish to put your investigation on hold. After all, I believe our own police can handle things from here. They are quite capable. I don't care for your terminology. You're not just putting our investigation on hold. You're cutting us off completely.
I was the killer?
Hey, wait! But that's impossible!
Yeah! Although that whip is actually quite... Yow!
Hold your tongue and that ludicrous remark you were about to make! After all, the victim died of blunt force trauma, not whip strikes. I'm not doubting it would have been a while after Bad's arrest before he went up to the ambassador's office in Alabast. I'm not, but I feel like maybe 46 minutes is a broad overestimate. Because you only know the facts of the Alabastian side of the case. No? Franziska investigated Bobble too, does she not? So saying she only knows the Alabast murder would be accurate. Just like with the Kidnapped Turnabout, Lang's first argument in accusing Franziska screwed me over with semantics. He talks about the Alabastian knife going to Bobble and Bobble's Prima statue going to Alabast, but he never said it was only those two things crossing the borders, but the game expects you to act like he did. I'll say it again, it's not humanly possible to fly through the air without wings, so you'd better have a good explanation for this, Mr. Prosecutor. Ah! What's with the recoil? The fact that he presented the evidence knowing humans can't fly shows that Edgeworth had some idea in mind. Sure, it wasn't fully formed yet, but we're getting there, dang it. Ah, Mr. Prosecutor! You left out a very crucial bit in your explanation. I know I did. She lost it through the air? Ha! And how exactly did she do that?
He is literally baring his fangs at me.
And it sounds an awful lot like some childish mockery the way he sustained some of those words. But if what she has to say turns out to be a waste of time, I'll place her under arrest faster than you can howl, no! Howling no. If you shot an arrow with the two ends of a wire tied to it, a circular belt can be formed. Okay, but unless Bobble's statue is tied to the wire real tightly, it wouldn't exactly help move it up to the Alabastian embassy. Leg Z says, howl! Howl. I know it was Alabast's statue that we found in Bobble, but at the same time, Bobble's statue was what was found in Alabast. But we also know Bobble's statue is a fake with a cavity inside. Also, the statues are named as Bobble's and Alabast respectively. It really shouldn't matter which one I present, but the game insists on presenting Alabast's statue, even though that was not the statue that contained the counterfeit bills. Again, the game tricked me with semantics. Logic and investigation? Only seconds ago you were ready to arrest Miss Von Karma. I don't think we can give such flip-floppy logic any real weight, do you? Why is he sweating? The accusation was never real. So now the game is saying we spent about as much time on the gameplay as we did getting back to the Atrium Neutralis, but I say it should have been closer to 2 a.m. than the game suggested to be by now. From this footage, we know that the card is a directives card from the smuggling ring. This is the section that proves that the card was used to relay an order. Why is the game making me do this, pointing to the card right in the murderer's hand? Don't do that to me. Detective Gumshoe, if you could please magnify the footage. I'm pretty sure that would make the footage look more pixelated. This area of the footage directly links the smuggling ring with Cadopia. Dude, if this is supposed to be video footage, why is it hard to believe that I captured Manny Cochin entering the car too? The Principality of Cadopia no longer exists, so naturally, all records from that time period also no longer exist. That sounds mighty suspicious. Just because a unity between nations no longer exists doesn't mean the record shouldn't exist either. What? Why is there a space in the middle of the screaming? Ha What a pathetic performance! I'm not giving you one! Wow, you two really know how to laugh at inappropriate times. I know, right? We're getting a lot of laughing before the final investigation of the game, and I still got about 2 hours to go. Furthermore, by the very nature of my position, I have full extraterritorial rights. These rights are effective even on your country's soil. Therefore, no matter where a crime may take place, I will never stand trial in one of your courts. That's been said already. Extraterritoriality is on your side. We get it. Thank you very much. Can we move on, please? It was more like 10 minutes after we showed the footage to Alba that the chapter ended. Yet we begin the next chapter 37 minutes later. If the law can't help us, then I'll go as the Yatagarasu and take care of this myself. Don't you dare!
Mr. Edgeworth.
Sorry, that was a bit too harsh. No, that was rational concern. And I have some things that I need to investigate further in Olabast. I can't imagine investigating Olabast now to be easy, especially with A, the tight security, and B, Alba wanting the investigation to be over. Right, so we can assume that the renovation was the cause of the plate and bills disposal, and the reason Mr. Kocha was killed is the ringleader of the smuggling operation. Based on what we know, who do you think was the one with the most to gain? Let's see. Who's the one boasting extraterritoriality and trying to name Kochan as the ringleader of the smugglers? Which minute's footage should I examine? The most suspicious one seems to be the one that's on screen when the options are presented to us. However, once you've recorded a score, that same game can never be replayed again. No, but we can try for a new high score, so how about it, Alba? Please, may I have a little bit of your time, Ambassador Alba? What, you're not even a little bit shocked that this elderly man is not hunched over anymore, unless you've seen him like this before?
Objection!
Alba has his own objection soundbite, but he's not a representative of the law. What am I saying? Of course not. He's above the law. I never use guesswork in moving my cases through. Then explain the statues in the Rose Garden, dude. Waste my time with any inane questions, and you will be punished. What are you gonna do, commit physical assault?
In which case, there is only one statement to which I need to present the evidence.
Two, actually.
Not so fast!
Lang Z says, Ex Machina. Also, Lang left through the eastern door. What's he doing at the western door? No. I won't be stopped now!
He still intends to fight us?
That's what just about everyone who got this far is saying by now. This whole testimony is basically a repeat of the rebuttal he made against the argument of him killing Kochan at the Atrium Neutralis.
Hold it!
Gumshoe Ex Machina.
Hold it!
It appears that we made it just in time! Neo Old Ex Machina.
No! The two people I wanted to see the least!
The way you say that, not to mention so late, means you're surprised at who's under the masks of the Steel Samurai and Pink Princess. But you've met them already. You knew who they were. Go away! Just the fact that this guy says go away like a little kid that's playing on the playground roundabout. Is it just me, or is the Iron Infant completely soaked? Oh, yeah! The way Larry said that makes it sound like he just now realized now that Kay mentions it. But he was the one that found it. I'm pretty sure he'd have noticed it was soaked already. Why did Gumshoe need to call Edgeworth to tell him about the pool in the open air stage? Just come back to the Atrium Neutralis. You see, Mr. Prosecutor, our chase after this man is far from over. Oh, you're telling me. I still got one last checkpoint to go, and I'm still arguing with this old fart. You know, I don't think this guy is going to ever admit to his wrongdoings, Mr. Edgeworth. It sure feels that way, doesn't it? And we're just approaching the final checkpoint in the game. And yep, there it is. Final checkpoint, and I'm still trying to get Alba to admit to everything from smuggling to first-degree homicide. I don't remember final confrontations being this tedious. Yeah, and the Steel Samurai special finishing move today was really something, huh? Hey, Angie! Who is she? Who is this super cute girl?
She's been standing here this whole time and only now he notices her?
I mean, to be fair, because Kay wasn't initially allowed to Olabas, Larry would never have met her before this final confrontation. But when Larry and Oldbag entered, Kay was the first one who spoke, which soon led to the unmasking of the samurai. She was also the one to ask about the Iron Infant being soaked. That's all what made the question so unbelievable. Quercus Alba, you didn't watch even a single minute of the Steel Samurai stage show tonight, did you? How's that for guesswork? He didn't watch the show at all? Yeah, and trust me, I know a real fan when I see one, because I'm the Steel Samurai. I will never acknowledge you as the true Steel Samurai. Good, because Will Powers is and always will be the one and only true Steel Samurai, like how Harrison Ford is and always will be the one and only true Indiana Jones, or Johnny Depp is and always will be the one and only true Captain Jack Sparrow. Also, Edgeworth's secret love for the Steel Samurai can hardly be called a secret anymore after this line. About 5 minutes before the show, we threw it up on the dressing room's whiteboard. Early summer rain jab. That's kinda how we decided on the name of the move. Really? Because all I see under the Steel Samurai versus the Jammin' Ninja is a bunch of scribbles. It's also very tedious and a pointless exercise and wasting time, much like a kids show. Hey, don't you dare diss kids shows as a whole. The staff members who knew were keeping it a secret, so you couldn't have simply gone up to a staff member and asked. He also would have had no reason to ask, given that it didn't look like anything had really changed from the original idea.
Is this the end?
I know that people like to mock this line and other variants thereof for how often they happen in this episode alone, but by this point, I've already seen it so often, even in other games in the series, that I've grown null to it.
Don't treat me like I'm some sort of nuisance!
That's exactly what you are, and you know it! The thought occurred to me that maybe it would be good if I fed you and made sure you were nice and full. One day it's my dream to serve you some of my own homemade food. I mean, isn't it the desire of every woman to make sure that their beloved never goes hungry? And that's what I want to experience. I'll tell you one thing though, a long time ago they used to say that I could make the most delicious meal out of any ingredient you put in front of me. Oh, I was a star in the kitchen back then, and I was... For goodness sake, you're so friggin' decrepit and I'm so friggin' young. Take the hint, lady! It's never gonna work between us!
There is no power on earth that can force that woman into silence.
Except for inevitable death, which I bet happened during the 8-year span when Phoenix wasn't practicing law. Why did you? Because I haven't finished reporting everything to you yet, sir. So we went through all that dialogue just for this? The blood doesn't belong to anyone connected to the case. That should be clue enough. That's a freaking lie. You couldn't have known that. Work is all by you!
Base 4.
Silence! Don't you ever address me with such a filthy word again! I'm just shocked that Lang said it at all in an Ace Attorney game. Also, I'm pretty sure just about everyone who got this far called you worse names, huh? You raggle-fraggled cowpie?
Is this really the extent of all that we can do?
I mean, this moment of despair makes sense for the story, but I already knew what evidence to present from the moment the blood on the box was revealed not to belong to the victim. Yet the game has me wait through all this bullcrap first. I've already deliberated with Alba for like the past hour and a half. It's time for this whole thing to be over. And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling prosecutors! Technically, 2 prosecutors, a Yatagarazu's daughter, a detective, an Interpol agent that actually hates prosecutors, said Interpol agents, 99 cronies, the Steel Samurai, and the Pink Princess, but all that makes the Scooby-Doo reference too long.
You're solving cases left and right today, aren't you, sir?
Technically this week, which is just as impressive actually. I can't believe you didn't notice! I was even mimicking Mr. Edgeworth's voice for a bit. A 17-year-old girl trying to sound like a 26-year-old man? Even Gumshoe should have noticed something was up. Look, don't get me wrong, I'll still never forgive you prosecutors. And I have zero interest in that truth thing you talk about in court. You know what's bullcrap? It took the US 15 years to officially, from Capcom, get an answer for Lang's trust issues.
I prepared a whole ton of ticker tape for today's victory, sir.
First of all, the confetti strewn about the courtroom is actually there and not just for visual aesthetics. Or maybe he's talking about the ticker tape he used in that photo taken at the end of Turnabout Goodbyes. Second, if it wasn't what Gumshoe threw after Edgeworth's acquittal, I thought the confetti was only for not guilty verdicts. Oh, so about my suitcases. I've been selling them on the internet and they've become a real sensation. If there's one thing this game got right about 2019, it's the fact that any random thing, like Tenero's suitcase design, is in all likelihood being praised not just as a genuine work of art like the Mona Lisa, but rather for stupid internet memes. Just think, someday you will be able to take a ride in my pink-walled, yellow-seated jet. And that's another thing they got right about 2019, style falling off.
But more importantly, Aaron, I received the most fantastic treasure recently. The Primadox statue of the Principality of Cadopia. It weighs a bit light in my hands, but the Ambassador Paleno was most generous.
I'm not surprised that Paleno gave LeBlanc the fake and not the real treasure, but how valuable is the fake really? Not as valuable as a real thing, no doubt.
The snow patrolman has been fired as of today, sir!
Now that you mentioned that, didn't you say you were fired for an incident last year involving you losing case files? I don't know, I'm just going off of what was revealed in Turnabout Succession.
I think I'll go to the courthouse and file a complaint with Ruffles Man.
First off, Ruffles Man? I thought you called Edgeworth by name. Second, yeah, you'll definitely go to the courthouse, but only to work as a useless bailiff that allowed the defendant to avoid capture. Yikes, I didn't think I'd be referencing Turnabout Succession twice in a row. I was actually hoping to talk with Mr. Edgeworth a bit more than I did. Don't worry, you'll get more chances in the sequel. Next time I help Mr. Edgeworth on a case, I'm going to do it as a real forensic scientist. Although, if it weren't for the sequel, you'd have been right on that. Since we judges are here day in and day out, I've only heard a few rumors, but... apparently Mr. Edgeworth teamed up with a thief and became a detective. If we're being technical, perhaps, but hasn't Edgeworth usually been physically involved with investigations in one form or another? I wonder what my next job should be. Ooh, this is actually kind of fun! Unfortunately, whenever you appear again, probably in Ace Attorney 7, probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're a murder suspect again. Oh, so I noticed that I really haven't seen the guy in the blue suit at all recently. Larry, you know the guy's name. He's your childhood friend. He's not like the man in the yellow hat. Just say his name outright. Hey, I know. Maybe I'll just keep on being Mr. Edgeworth's assistant.
Are you still trying to steal my job, pal?
Just kidding, just kidding. I can't steal something so important to you, Gummy. What about the Amano kidnapping case? A 3-person team of young beauties the same age as me, if possible.
With those criteria, I highly doubt you'll find the 2 other people you need.
And more importantly, if you're trying to be like your dad, remember, he worked with a detective 13 years older than him and a lawyer 18 years younger. I really don't think age matters that much. Oh, one last thing before I go. Let's take a group picture, just the 3 of us.
Yeah, commemorative photo. Every big case has to end with one.
By every big case, are you talking about Turnabout Goodbyes? Because that's the only case so far up to this point in the timeline that had a commemorative photo.
Stop that! I can't be seen doing that!
Doing what? Posing for a picture, or...?
What did you pick pointing at the steak for?
Of course, a hot steak is better than a cold chop.